Wow, we just saw one of the most euphoric, explosive days for the market all year. A massive surge across the board. The big question is, what on earth just happened? Let's get right into it.
So the catalyst was just undeniable. A sudden, totally unexpected 2-week ceasefire announcement. This single piece of news was like a giant pressure valve being released for the entire market. That fear premium, that extra cost investors bake in for geopolitical risk, it just completely deflated almost overnight.
I mean, just look at these numbers. The S&P 500 absolutely skyrocketed, jumping over 2.5%. That's nearly 166 points, closing at a really stunning 6,782. And get this, the Dow Jones had an even bigger day. It surged a massive 1,325 points. We're talking a nearly 3% gain, pushing it right up to the edge of 48,000. Just incredible.
Of course, the tech-heavy NASDAQ was right there in the mix, jumping 2.8%. The main takeaway here? This was not some narrow little rally. This was the big money, the institutional capital, getting a massive green light to buy everything in sight.
Now this slide, this is the root cause of everything we just saw. With the ceasefire, we got news that the Strait of Hormuz will reopen. And the result? WTI crude oil absolutely plummeted, 15%, falling all the way back to $96 a barrel. That whole stagflation narrative, that toxic mix of slow growth and high inflation that's been haunting everybody, it basically just vaporized in a single trading session. Okay, so let's dig a little deeper and see how this huge macro shift played out for individual companies. And first up, we have Meta Platforms, which is a perfect example of a company combining that market tailwind with its own huge news. Man, the social media giant just caught fire today. It rallied an incredible 6.5% to close above $612. It was a clear leader in the whole mega-cap tech space.
So what was the spark here? Well, it was a masterful bit of timing, really. Right as the market was exploding higher on the ceasefire news, Meta chose that exact moment to launch its highly anticipated Muse Spark AI platform. They made sure every investor's eyes were on their new product.
Right, and this is the crucial part. This wasn't just some press release or empty hype. The market rewarded Meta because they are finally shipping real, tangible AI capabilities. It's proof that the billions and billions they've poured into AI are actually starting to pay off. Okay, next up, let's look at a different kind of story. This is a company that represents a pure flight to quality when that market fear goes away. I'm talking about the Dutch semiconductor giant ASML. This was easily one of the strongest performers in the entire tech sector today, surging an incredible 8.74%. It's simple, really. When the coast is clear, the big money just floods into these best-in-class, untouchable names. Now, ASML definitely rode that broad tech rally, but it also got its own personal rocket boost from a major price target upgrade. For the market, this was a clear signal. It was time to pour money back into the foundational layer of the chip world. And ASML, with its absolute monopoly on the machines needed to make advanced chips, well, it's the undisputed king of that layer. And this just perfectly illustrates where all that money goes when geopolitical risk vanishes. It flows directly into these irreplaceable monopolies like ASML that literally hold the keys to manufacturing the world's most critical technology. And finally, let's talk about the stock that was maybe the purest, most direct way to play the day's big news, American Airlines. So the airline jumped a very solid 5.5%. But honestly, the price isn't the real story here. What's truly astounding is the volume. Over 100 million shares changed hands today. Yeah, that massive volume, 53% above its average, that tells you everything you need to know. This was the ceasefire trade in its purest form. I mean, for an airline, fuel is one of their biggest, most unpredictable costs, right? So when oil prices just collapse by 15% in a single day, all that immense pressure on the airline's bottom line, it just vanishes instantly. And that triggered a huge wave of buying and short covering that sent the stock flying. Okay, it's time for the water cooler takeaway. This is exactly what you need to say tomorrow morning to sound like the smartest person in the room when it comes to today's market action. First up, on Meta. You'll point out that, yeah, the ceasefire helped, but the real story was the Muse Spark AI debut. The takeaway is they aren't just talking about AI anymore, they're actually shipping products and proving they can make money from them. Next, when someone brings up ASML, you'll explain that its huge jump is a classic relief rally move. When that geopolitical fear fades, capital rushes back into the essential monopolies. It is the ultimate picks and shovels play for AI. You're not betting on one chip designer, you're betting on the company that sells the tools to literally everyone.
And finally, on American Airlines, you'll just highlight that insane volume. It makes the stock a perfect macro proxy. The second oil dropped back to $96, that huge margin pressure on the airlines just disappeared, making it the key tactical trade of the day.
Airlines, like American, jumped heavily on massive volume as oil plunged 15%, down to $96 a barrel. Are you aggressively buying the dip on travel and recovery stocks, or are you sticking your capital purely in big tech?
Comment below. Subscribe to Market Fluency for your daily edge.